Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Superman issue 27 by Joshua Williamson, Eddie Barrows, Sean Isaacs, Iban Ferreira and Alejandro Sanchez. Superman's red kryptonite-induced rampage continues this issue as Lois, now without her Kryptonian powers, has returned to work at the Daily Planet, surprising some of her co-workers who think that she couldn't just stay away from chasing a big story. As I said in my last review for the series, it's incredibly clear Lois is getting a taste of those powers and then they're being taken away, and it's affected her greatly. So much so that she can't actually go back to the job she was so good at before. She's had a taste of that other life that her husband lives and doesn't want to really go back to anything else. Luckily, she doesn't have to think about it too long as Jimmy arrives in the office. Lois is happy to see her friend up and about and out of the hospital, but is quickly reminded by Siobhan that Superwoman was responsible for getting him injured by Time Trapper. I'm very happy to see this side plot come back round here, since despite taking Lois's powers away, it keeps her involved in the story, and we also get to explore her guilt over getting her friend hurt, since she wasn't really taking the powers as seriously as she should have been. Should have been a plot that maybe got explored a little bit more, but this book is balancing just so much happening right now. Jimmy doesn't believe that Superwoman or Lois is responsible for what happened, since he was on the job himself and he put himself in the line of trouble. Siobhan agrees to not go full supervillain on Superwoman if she ever shows up again, but I do feel like this was just a cover, and if Lois does end up getting her powers back, or it's revealed that she was Superwoman or something, I imagine we're going to see Silver Banshee break bad again, and that'll lead to her and Superman fighting again or something. Soon the newsroom is bustling about a big prison break at Strikers, where the Red K infected Superman battles Marilyn Moonlight. Superman manages to get control of himself briefly enough to tell Marilyn to follow him. Superman takes her to Grafton Farm's cell deeper in the prison, finding that they are gone along with Luthor. I really like that it wasn't an all-out open fight between Superman and Moonlight. I like that that's not what the whole issue was about, where it was kind of set up like that in the end of the last issue. Both realize that there is more at play here, and they aren't really falling for the two heroes battle each other trope again. Superman tells Marilyn that they were both drawn there to Strikers by Luthor for some reason, suspecting Lex controls where Moonlight goes somehow. Now this is an interesting idea, and one that we haven't actually seen broached yet, that Lex controls Marilyn and has trapped her in some sort of control that allows her to appear and disappear when he wants to. Maybe it's to do with his plans, like maybe he doesn't want her dabbling in what he has in store for Metropolis, so he's able to control when she appears and when she doesn't. Hopefully it is expanded upon, because it's kind of dropped on us here, there's no precedence for it at all. And it also would be good to have an explanation why she just kind of appears and then just disappears for issues at a time and just doesn't really come back. It's kind of constrained her character and her character growth to be contained by just the nighttime. As the heroes try and find out where Lex is, Mercy continues to track Superman's Red K levels, finding something has briefly calmed him down and they've lowered. Lex soon arrives in the lab, much to Mercy's surprise. Lex reveals he wanted to come and see her again, understanding why she did what she did in releasing XL, but assures her that he has all of his memories, including the ones of their time together and how much they loved each other. Lex gives Mercy a choice. She can have Supercorp and run it however she wants, or she can come with Lex and they can run away together. While I think we really skipped a beat with the Lex-Mercy relationship, I appreciate Williamson keeps bringing it back in little ways, especially with the reverse dynamic where we have Lex is the one who wishes to step away from this life and, just be a normal guy, and Mercy, who now has all of the power in the relationship and doesn't want to let that go because she's finally got that after all these years. That dynamic shift is really interesting, and I hope we continue to see more of it somewhere down the line. Superman and Marilyn meanwhile speed towards Metropolis to find Graft Farm and Lex. During the search, they get to talk about why Lex would curse Marilyn to protect the city at night, but Superman doesn't believe it's some curse. He thinks it's some type of science Lex has created. He plans on asking him when they find him. Grafton Farm, however, put a stop to their conversation as the villains have commandeered a giant nanobot Supercorp robot, using it to terrorize Metropolis as they call for Lex to come and give them the fight that they were promised. Williamson lately has been doing all of these little bits where Superman's symbol, or things related to Superman that kind of represent him, are being used by the villains, effectively tarnishing the hero and what he means. You've got this, this giant robot with the Superman symbol terrorizing Metropolis. You've got the guns that Mercy and Supercorp have scattered out into the galaxy with the Kund. showing people, the Superman symbol on the side of a weapon that can obliterate a city, stuff like that. I imagine that's going to build up to something. I mean, it has to. You don't just do all of this stuff and then just have it not matter to anything. And we've already seen Zod has taken notice of that. So I imagine there's something building up there in the background and could lead to Superman earning the trust back and proving what his symbol really means to the people. There's a story there, and I would really like to see it be told at some point in the future. Superman recognizes the robot is made from the same nanotech as the S on the top of the Supercorp building, meaning it's extremely tough, and he doesn't really know how to stop it, instead wanting to just try and smash his way inside. Lex soon contacts Superman via his super hearing, telling the hero that Graft Farman himself made a deal. They cure Superman of his red K poisoning. Lex would free them, but of course, they lied and there is no cure. However, Lex had a cure on hand and sent it to Superman. So it's not made entirely clear enough, or it's kind of obvious, but also it can be misconstrued here. But the cure is Marilyn Moonlight, as it's been shown multiple times that she calms Superman when she's in his presence. Something Mercy noticed just a few pages ago. I also really like that it's not outrightly said, and Williamson gets a little meta here with Lex's dialogue where he says that Superman is smarter than he's acting, and that's kind of him trusting the audience and trusting the reader to realize that Marilyn is the thing curing Superman of his red K poisoning. Lex does reveal directly though that he triggered Superman's red K and freed Farm and Graft since he needed a distraction. I assume this was the case last issue and Lex is back to his old ways, but I do like that it's being done with a reason beyond fighting Superman or being petty towards Superman. Lex has a plan he put in motion and he couldn't have Superman breathing down his neck while he enacted it, and that's why he freed these other people. Lex explains that if Superman wants to beat the robot Graft and Farm are using, he has to hit it with something made from the same nanomaterial. Superman knows that this means the S on top of the Supercorp building, so he races to the building and lifts the symbol off the building to use as a weapon. Lex tells Superman that his original plan for Supercorp was to get Superman to trust him, but the more they worked together, the lie he made slowly became truth. They were a good team and Metropolis and the world were better off with them working together. But now he needs to escape the man he once was, which means he must leave Metropolis for good. I really do like just at every turn where you think Lex is going to turn back to, the classic Lex Luthor villain, Williamson goes the opposite direction and goes a little further by having him not really be a good guy per se. He very much is, but he really isn't. He's just someone who wants to escape all of this life, all of this craziness, and kind of run away from his problems. And in that regards, that's also one of the most Luthor things ever. He deep down is a coward and doesn't like being, challenged by things that are out of his grasp. So this is very much a Lex Luthor thing to do, to kind of hide from these problems. And I like that because he doesn't have that villainous streak in him anymore. There's not that facade up anymore. He can just say that he wants to run away from these problems. That's character development through and through. As Lex says goodbye, Superman tosses the S into the robot, destroying it completely before returning to Marilyn, telling the hero to shoot him. Marilyn obliges the hero and unleashes the Moonlight power onto Superman, which cures him completely of his red kryptonite poisoning. On top of curing Superman, Marilyn is also somehow cured of her curse, meaning she can now survive during the daylight and doesn't disappear, since the sun comes up and she is still around. So I get what Williamson is doing here. Superman is the hero of the sun, Marilyn is the hero of the moon, moon, sun, yin yang, two sides of the same coin type thing. But the logistics of Marilyn's powers curing Superman and vice versa doesn't really make sense to me. I get the logic behind it, the sun is reflected off the moon and, that's how he's able to get his powers back into realignment because of the sunlight being reflected from the moon. I get that sort of stuff, but just none of this has been explained. It's just kind of happening and I don't know why. It's very odd, especially for Joshua Williamson, who's done a really fantastic job of setting things up and then paying them off. And this feels like it's just kind of hand wavy and just kind of getting it out of the way because we have important things happening in the next couple of issues. Superman, despite being free from the red kryptonite, is still very much angry with Lex, returning to Mercy to demand to know where he went. Mercy doesn't know, only that he asks her to go with him, but she wasn't wasn't able to follow him as he is on his own now. Mercy tells Superman to go home since while he is upset with her, he will soon know that he needs her since Lex taught her to always be there to help him. So Mercy's character over the last couple of issues has greatly fluctuated. She's, first a good guy, then she goes full villain, kind of having this kind of snapping moment, well, not actually having that snapping moment. She has even the evil scientist plot with the evil clone, and now she's back to being slightly good, but also not. She's kind of filling that Lex role that's not there anymore because Lex is gone, and now she has the power in that dynamic. It just feels quite inconsistent, and I love what Williamson was building with her finally being able to have all of that power in that Lex relationship. I liked that that's where it was headed, and then it kind of goes backwards here, where now she's kind of just another subservient female character again in the book. It feels wildly backwards, and I don't know why it happened. Clark returns to the Daily Planet, finding his wife on the rooftop. Lois wishes that she could have flown over to help Clark at Strikers, but knows that she couldn't do that anymore. Clark decides to take her for a fly-through of the city, where they finally discuss Lois losing her powers. Lois is okay with not being Superwoman anymore, since she just likes being Lois Lane, editor of the Daily Planet. Now, much like Mercy, I don't really get what's going on here, since the last few issues since losing her powers, they've kind of built up that she very clearly misses these powers. It's kind of eating away at her that she's lost this thing that really connected her more to her husband than ever before. And even at the start of this issue, we saw it have an effect on her where she couldn't focus on her work because she kept thinking about I could have been out there helping Superman, I could have used these powers to help him. But now it's again, like Mercy and Marilyn for that matter, there's that shift where she's just been kind of turned into another subservient female, which I'm just not understanding. I know we've got big storylines coming up with Absolute Universe crossover next issue and a bunch of other stuff happening, but it feels like a lot of the women plots in this book are just kind of being bolted into those subservient roles again and just kind of return to what they were instead of continuing to evolve as they were throughout this book in a really cool way, and just kind of just cut off at the knees here for no apparent reason. Now, obviously, there is no nefarious behind the scene. Williamson isn't doing this on purpose. I could see what's happening. There's a big storyline coming. He's got to jettison some other storylines or, quickly wrap them up. That doesn't mean they're not going to come back later on, but he's got to wrap them up now so there's not all these spinning plates, because that's the one thing that's been happening with this book as of late. There's a lot of spinning plates happening with plot lines and, references to what's happening in other books and trying to keep it all coherent continuity wise and everything. So I can see what is happening, and it's nothing nefarious. It's just really upsetting that it's just seemingly the female characters who are suffering now. As Clark and Lois tour the city by the sky, they find Supercorp has become LexCorp again, which Lois is well aware of since the PR team reached out to the Daily Planet and revealed that Mercy Graves is now in full control of the company. On top of that, the company still has all of the Supercorp tech and their lawyers are refusing to give it up. Lois asks about Lex's whereabouts, but Clark, who should be able to keep tabs on him pretty easily, can't hear a single thing. As elsewhere in the world, Lex arrives at a mysterious snowy city where everyone there speaks sign language, meaning Superman cannot hear the man one bit. This feels like he's kind of putting Lex on ice, quite literally here for a bit, and I assume after the new movie comes out, we'll be back to, classic villain Lex, since he is in that film. But we are moving away from Lex for now, I guess, and getting some more Superman villains and some more different Superman villains, which is quite cool. I do applaud Williamson for doing that and actually having a wide stable of Superman villains, both new and old, throughout the book. It's not just been Lex this entire time. Speaking of villains, in the far future, the Absolute Legion take the captive Time Trapper to meet Booster Gold, whom Saturn Girl reveals is filled with Omega energy from when he came through the rift, meaning Booster Gold is the key to everything, one of the most important beings in the universe. Time Trapper doesn't think they should have revealed that, since while he is known as Trapper to them, he is also Doomsday. The being breaks himself free from Cosmic Boy's unbreakable chains and intends on fighting against the Absolute Legion, but first he must find the World Forger. Time Trapper dives through a portal and the Legion let him go, since Saturn Girl knows it's finally time they go and meet the Superman. This is a really fun tease for what's coming up in the next issue, and is what the next big step in this whole all-in initiative is, with the big Absolute Universe crossover looming very closely. It also looks like it's going to be a little broader than I thought, as Time Trapper mentions World Forger, who is the son of Perpetua and the brother of the Monitor and Anti-Monitor, who was recently in that history of the DC universe and kind of set there as a, this character does exist in this universe, you might want to keep an eye on him. And also, I know I got really quite lucky here, and I read this issue before this week's Justice League Unlimited issue, which actually has a continuation of this Page and Time Trapper story, so keep an eye out for my review of that book. I am very excited to dive into this crossover, although as I said earlier, I don't like that it wrapped up a lot of character arcs, specifically a lot of the female character arcs, way too early to get into this new story. Superman issue 27 was a bit of a mixed bag. There's a lot to enjoy. I do like Lex continuing to go in an interesting direction that isn't just him returning to full villain. There's a slow slide down into it, and he's trying everything not to do that. And the teaser ending with the Absolute Legion is quite fun. It sets up something very big coming for the Superman books. But it was also at the expense of wrapping up some of the other plots, notably the female-centric plots, rather quickly. And for a lot of them, there wasn't really that much logic to them. They just kind of wrapped up very, very quickly with no sort of sense of like why. And that was really frustrating as someone who's been reading these stories, every issue, and kind of they've been building up to something really fun, and they just have them cut off at the legs is very disappointing. I'm going to give this issue a 6 out of 10.